Photography Daily, the assignment.
Monday is our assignment day, where our special guest sets a photography challenge or a way to think about your picture making for the next week. It's a challenge, as you know by now, for everybody, whatever interests you have, whatever camera you hold, film, larger format, DSLR, mirrorless, compact, smartphone, dare I say, and add to the list, pinhole. It's really all about the picture you see. As always, there's a show page on the website for today's edition. photographydaily.show is the website, and I'd love you to share the pictures you make for this challenge, which I can upload to the show page for this edition. You can check back, of course, to see pictures from previous editions too. And before we meet our special guest, my thanks to our wonderful patrons and mpb.com, who sponsor this show, the number one company in the UK, the US and Europe, with bases in Brighton and Brooklyn and Berlin when it comes to buying, selling and trading used camera kit online. A safe place to do business, with guarantees upon what you buy, and product specialists who are photographers and creators who've been answering questions you send in for our Friday Photo Walk show. And this Friday, since we mention it, on the Photo Walk, two guests, or two subjects, I guess really. Dr. Grant Scott from the United Nations of Photography on documentary photography, with a question, well, an essay actually, that he wrote that's also featured on his most recent edition of his podcast, which I'll link to today and on Friday in the show notes. And that question, is documentary photography obsessed with sad? That's what we try to unpick.
He'd had a good look around and he said that. He said, why are these pictures so sad?
Yeah.
And I thought immediately, yeah, you're right.
Also starting a mini-series called Instagram's Curiosity Shop, where I talk with the curators behind profiles that have everything to do with the eccentric and nothing really to do with the likes.
I wanted something that would just, with little LED lights, I use little Lumi Muse and stuff, that I could light like I would a portrait. And I'm learning, and I thought, well, it's justified. I can spend my money on this because it's justified, because I'm learning about photography.
Right, let's meet our guest for today, setting you a challenge, an assignment for the next 7 days, or the new week ahead. And I purposely didn't tell you that Davies was coming on to do this on Friday's show, for the reason that if you join me regularly on the Photo Walk, you'll know by the mere mention of his name what the assignment was or is likely to be. I've personally started, as you'll know now, to notice trees in a way that I hadn't before on my walks, and today we're asking for you to do the same. Doesn't matter what your thing is, we want you to connect with nature. That's what we're up to with this one, and as you'll hear by the first few thoughts from Mally now, there's a little to think about when photographing a perennial.
The assignment.
You are the assignment this week. Or you're setting the assignment, but what is that assignment going to be?
Well, serious stuff. I've wrote this down, folks.
Right.
Serious stuff. So, aesthetics, placement, relation. It's all about connection. It's a gut reaction, eye candy of the tree. Well, trees are wonderful, and they're wonderful living beings, and I feel that clouds and trees are unsung elements within the landscape.
Whoa.
So when you see a tree and work it, baby, like David Bailey. Walk round it, stalk it, look round it. When you see a tree and you get that instant connection, don't take that first picture, just breathe and have a walk round. Go and touch it. Give it a little hug. Have a minute with that tree.
This is clearly what I'm doing wrong then, because I'm respecting the tree at a distance. I'm not going up to it.
Well, it's personal. That's up to you. It's up to everyone. How you approach this, you can get intimate, get close, have a look. This started with 3 shots, far away, getting closer, and then the bark or the leaves are looking up through the tree. So it's like a little triptych, if you like. And that's how I've always done them. But sometimes they don't work out, and I'll just put the glory, the one tree shot up at the end that I know works. But try that. Approach the tree, become friends with the tree. And that's pretty much it. You know, be warned though that the best trees you'll see will be in passing. The best trees are always on a motorway traveling.
Yeah.
So you can carefully pull over on an A road or where it's safe and make a GPS recording on your phone and return and investigate later. And they are the best trees, the ones that you glimpse, that you see, like, you know, like, what's the song? Like Moments in the Night, you know, where you're just passing a tree. Oh, look at that. Oh, next thing you know, you're 20 miles away and it's forgotten. Don't forget the tree, because that tree will be the one. That's the one that you will get connected to, and you can go back and see it and make friends with it time and time again.
So if you haven't gathered by now, what we're looking for this week, the assignment is going to be go find a Mally's tree. And what started out as a point of, well, humorous comment and conversation has become something that, for the photo walk edition anyway, has become this sort of inexorable search for your tree. I seem to have even managed to make up the rules for what makes a Mally's tree, even though they're not at all like your rules. So this week we're looking for you to photograph the most majestic thing that grows out of the ground, a tree.
Your tree, though. It's very important that, I think, there's hundreds, millions, thousands. Just, you've got to focus on one that really connects with you. That for me is an important part of the assignment, really, because it'd be nice to see in 6 months, 12 months from now, if you go back and it's snowing or it's in, you know, the leaves have gone, or because we're getting to a point now where they're really vibrant and the green is really showing in the leaves. So it's interesting to keep going back. And the tree that I have is 2 miles away from it, and it got me through lockdown.
It literally did. This tree became. I know. So we've done a bit of joshing, I know, but this tree became a focal point of your lockdown, didn't it? Yeah, but
it's on a walk that's a bit of a route, and the photographs make it look better. I don't know if it's because of the connection I have with it, where I glorify, what's the word I'm after? I put this tree on a pedestal because I know when I get there, I'm halfway on my walk and there's never anyone there. And with lockdown and what we had, it was in with the permitted, legal, whatever, all that business.
Yeah.
And it was a bit special because I knew if I got there, I knew I've got a photograph. So then the route became a photo walk, but the focus point was getting to the tree. Yeah, and the conditions, it doesn't matter if it was middle of the day, if it was sunset, sunrise, it really doesn't matter.
But photographing a tree, you do need to isolate it in some way. That doesn't mean you have to place your tree against a sky. And actually something we do, and it is actually, ironically, since you mentioned it, it's usually a motorway tree. We're all jetting along the motorway, and somebody will shout, "There's a Mally's tree!" And it will be a tree that is fairly well isolated in so far as that this thing's going to be against a blue sky, and we have one. I call it the Watership Down tree, but we're not that far from Watership Down, the famous book. But actually, there is a tree that looks like it should be the Watership Down tree, nearer to where I live. But I still haven't managed to get a great photograph of it, because when I'm on foot, it doesn't look at all like when I'm on the motorway looking up at it.
Yeah, very true. Yes, isolating the trees. Yeah, very important.
Do they have to have leaves on them, or what happens?
Well, it doesn't really matter. I think the main thing is your own love of it, and then do consider the aesthetics, because I think in photography, a lot of the time, it's okay saying shoot for yourself, but an ugly mess that you might appreciate is great. But there's a romance for me. So it has to have some kind of gesture, some kind of feeling about the tree that's either aesthetically pleasing to others as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to consider it a bit more. It can't just be like, oh, this, I like it because I just like it yourself, which is fine. It's fine to like for yourself. But personally, I think a lot of this shooting the tree or trees, there's in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, will someone else like this? Because I think that's important. I think it's important to pass something on to give pleasure to someone else. So it's my tree, becomes your tree, and so on. And then we all pass trees to each other and get excited in each other's.
Well, I know it sounds... And 5-10 years ago, if I'd have thought I was having a conversation about photographing a tree, I probably wouldn't have believed myself. But the photographers have these incredible relationships with photographs of trees. I'm thinking of Paul Sanders with his Discover Still series.
Yes.
And when he takes a picture of a tree or makes a picture of a tree, he manages to bring about this extreme quiet within his frame, which is sincerely beautiful. And then I'm thinking also of the photographer, the fashion photographer stroke royal photographer, John Swanell, who I spent some time with in the Lake District. And I remember one day, before we started doing all our filming, he said, there's one thing I need you to see, one thing. He was very intense about some things, beautifully intense, wonderfully intense. And we drove out into the sort of hillier part of the mountainous part, I suppose, of the lakes. And he took me to a tree. And he said, I've been photographing this tree for years since I've been coming up here.
Yeah.
And he had to show me it because he wanted me to experience it.
It's like introducing someone to a good friend, an old friend.
Yeah.
There's a spiritual connection with those branches and that tree. Yeah. Definitely. I really do feel that a lot of the trees that I've found, they're imprinted in my brain as well. I can take you there now there's one in the lakes that I absolutely adore, and it's in my last video, and it's only 20 yards from the car park. And people wouldn't know it, wouldn't see it, they'd walk past it. And did you know as well, with a lot of trees, these quite gnarly old oak trees, they have to be quite old. If you see a big rock in front of them, I can't remember where I heard this or where I read it, the old, say the lords and earls or whatever, they'd be out if the horse was poorly or the horse was going to die, they'd shoot the horse out. They would bury the horse near a very grand tree and they put a massive rock there. And those big rocks near big old gnarly trees, I always think, is there a horse under there?
Horse on there? Wow, I never heard of that. The
connection between the tree and the cycle of the life of the horse going with the tree. And there's so much we don't know as well about trees and the way they connected together. And wonderful thing to actually get yourself a particular tree or a few.
Does it have to be the whole tree, or can it be part of a tree?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. You can get intimate, you get into it, you can look up the tree, you can look at the flora around it, what's on the understudy, what's going on around it, what mushrooms are growing on it. Or, I love silver birch, and they tend to have quite a lot of fungus and different spores that grow around them. And then dead trees are fascinating. I found a ghost tree at a Grange in the Lake District.
A ghost tree?
It's an old silver birch, and it's completely dead, but it's white as white can be. Right. And when I turned my head, and I just saw a few branches over this hill, and so I marched up the hill, and as I got to the top, there's a dry stone wall, and this 7-8 foot tall dead silver birch. And like you're saying about the separation, the fell behind, which is King's How, was quite dark. So I just underexposed a couple of stops. And I got this ghost, this wonderful, spiny, pointing out in all directions silver birch. And even though the tree was dead, it still had so much going for it, which we could say more than what we could for us. But, trees live on even in death.
Well, this is the assignment this week then. This is, we've named it Mally's Tree. It's become a character all of its own, I think. So this week, go shoot a Mally's tree.
Make it yours.
And that's our challenge for this week. I'll be delighted to see what you produce and would love to show them on today's corresponding show page on the website photographydaily.show. Send them in to studio@photographydaily.show. The email address studio@photographydaily.show. Music on the show from artlist.io. Production assistance from Neil Ford and Emily Renier. And I look forward to photographing with you, hearing from you and talking with you on the Photo Walk.
The Assignment is a Loading Zone production.